Hello, my name is Jeff Chodakowitz, and I'm delighted to be a senior advisor and part of the Ascenta team. I believe that Ascenta's strategy is aimed at the key inflection point as companies discover promising therapeutic molecules and work to transform them into important medicines. Of course, it requires great science, but also a deep understanding of the challenges and an integrated team strategy to navigate those obstacles. I'm very excited to be part of Ascenta's mission, which aims to take on deep diligence in assessing potential investments, but also to add value through ongoing partnership with our companies. That makes Ascenta really stand out. The next biotech you're going to meet today is I Amic, also based in San Diego. I've spent significant time with the I Amic team, speaking about everything from the design of clinical trials in specific cancer patient subpopulations to their unique artificial intelligence platform. They are a terrific team. AI is changing all aspects of our economy, including biotech. However, AI used in isolation simply won't deliver its full potential to drive important novel medicines. Iambic has this deep platform capability in the AI space and a team that combines that expertise with world-class drug hunting that can continuously target new opportunities. Their initial focus is in oncology, and they have a portfolio of drug candidates which address critical patient needs and are designed in a radically different way than we see in pharma today. It is a company that boasts a leadership team combining the efficient velocity of a tech company with the galvanizing purpose of a biotech trying to save the lives of cancer patients. David Rubenstein will be speaking with Dr. Thomas Miller, CEO of Iambic, who came to the company from Caltech, where he spent decades working with colleagues at the nexus of AI, chemistry, and biology. This has provided him with a unique background and skill set to lead this rapidly growing firm. David, over to you.
I'm here in conversation with Dr. Tom Miller, who is the CEO and founder of Iambic. That is a San Diego-based artificial intelligence biotech company, which was started in 2020. Thank you very much for giving us your time today.
It's a pleasure, David. Thank you.
So let me make sure I understand your background. Caltech is a wonderful university, often associated with things not related to biotech as much as they are different types of technologies, as you probably know. So physics or astrophysics or mathematics or things like that. Is Caltech very big as well in biotech as it is in these other areas of science?
I think Caltech has an extraordinary history of contributions to the biological sciences, with Nobel Prize winners that include recently even David Baltimore and Francis Arnold, with history that includes Linus Pauling on the faculty. So I think that they have a very rich history in the biological sciences, which of course translate to biotechnology.
Let's talk about your own background for a moment. Where are you originally from?
I'm originally from Texas. I grew up in Central Texas. My dad was in the Navy, moved around a lot before we landed in College Station when I was around 5, and I grew up there.
All right, so you went to undergraduate where, at Texas A&M?
I did, yeah, I did.
And then where did you get your graduate degrees?
I had the chance after doing an undergraduate at A&M in chemistry and math. I got a British Marshall Scholarship, which took me to London, and I did a master's degree at the University of College London before getting my PhD or DPhil at the University of Oxford.
Okay, so when did you really realize, as a young person, you really were interested in biology, chemistry, the kind of things you're now focused on?
I will confess that biology was not on my radar of interests for a very long time. I fell in love with the connection between chemistry and mathematics. My first year as an undergraduate, I got an old book by Coulson that describes kind of the early discovery of the Schrodinger equation and the way a mathematical formula could dictate the reality of a physical chemical bond. You can go from formula to something you can hold in a way that was just a few lines, and that had me hooked. So I fell in love with the interface of chemistry and math, and that carried me through my career.
So when you were in high school, were you a superstar in this area? Did you know from the time you were in high school that you were going to do something in biology, or were you interested in something else at that time?
For a long time, wanted to be a cellist. I actually was living away from home for the first part of high school at the SMU Conservatory and was focusing on music. And it wasn't until the second half of high school that I decided to instead focus on more scientific or engineering pursuits.
Is that when you realized you weren't going to be Yo-Yo Ma?
Yeah, I think in a way, your fate is written pretty early when you are a cellist or a classical musician, as you know well. And I think that there was kind of a realization that if I worked as hard on other things as I was working hard on music, then I could achieve a lot of things. And locking myself into that one path so early became like a limiting factor.
So you have been for a number of years a tenured professor at Caltech, and becoming a tenured professor at Caltech is not the easiest thing in the world to do. So once people get it, they almost never give it up. I think Linus Pauling never gave it up, and I guess David Baltimore didn't give it up until, well, I'm not sure he ever gave it up. So, right. So why did you give up tenure at Caltech in order to start I Amic?
I mean, I loved Caltech. I love Caltech to this day, and that was just a magical place to come as a new faculty member, to get tenure, to build relationship with that group of extraordinary scientists and people there, and I felt very fulfilled by the opportunities and by the sort of work that I was able to achieve there. I think that what I increasingly saw as an opportunity for the work we were doing was a translational impact. You can work on fundamental science and you can take a project so far, but really, if you want to connect that to the human being at the end of the day, that's not the natural mode of execution in a university. And I saw that translational opportunity for some of the tools we were developing. And I not only wanted to see it happen, but I wanted to participate in that firsthand. Caltech allowed me to take a 2-year sabbatical where I could, initially launch the company and along with my co-founder Fred Manby, and to really see if we liked it, if it had legs. And I just absolutely saw that this is something that was more important for me to be able to do than clinging to the security of tenure.
I understand, but did any of your colleagues say to you, your partners, your wife, your children say, hey, you're giving up tenure, that's pretty dangerous. Anybody say that to you?
Surprisingly few. You might think that people would respond more like that. My family was intrigued by the change, by the idea, and they were very supportive in terms of my wife. My colleagues were also incredibly supportive.
Okay.
Of course, there's a few who say you're crazy, you're having a midlife crisis, but others, I think, really saw that life can be full of chapters, and you can have different chapters for your career and do very exciting things.
Okay, so let's talk about I Amic. The idea behind it is what? What is it that you're specifically trying to do with that company?
We are trying to deliver important new medicines for unmet patient need at a pace that is fundamentally different from what has previously been possible. And we're doing that using AI technologies.
Now, everybody today wants to be doing something relating to AI. It's easy to say I'm doing AI because most people probably don't understand what it really is, but Did you decide to do something with AI before AI became so popular, or when did you decide AI was going to make a difference to the company that you wanted to start?
I've worked at the interface of computation and molecular design for 20 years. And that has, seen just generation after generation of different technologies for making that possible. From, raw solution of the Schrodinger equation to large scale molecular dynamics simulation where, molecules are represented as balls and sticks to the new generation of increasingly data-driven strategies. And we have worked in this area. I worked in this area for years at Caltech prior to forming I Amic, and we have a long experience in that.
Okay, so what year did you actually start Iambic?
It got its seed funding in the start of 2020.
And where did you get your seed funding from?
We had fantastic seed investors, Nexus Ventures, in the Bay Area. The board member that joined from that was Naren Gupta, who was on the Caltech board of directors. So we had a strong relationship there, as well as FreeFlow, another Caltech aligned investment.
And how did you get connected to Ascenta?
That was an introduction through. We actually had two modes of introduction through each of our Series A co-leads. So I think I got connected to Evan by way of Co2, and of course Lawrence has strong relationships with our Series A investors as well.
So many times people want to get seed capital from venture capital firms, and then when they get it, they say, "Oops, I have to deal with the venture capitalists. They're driving me crazy." Is that the case with you, or you're happy with your venture capital investors?
We have had, I would say, the blessing of very good investors. Good investors that support us through, the rather exciting times of these last couple of years, including the pandemic and the different environments, as well as investors who give the founder a lot of trust. It was a company. Iambic was actually initially founded as a software company using the AI with the idea that it would be delivering that software as a service. And it wasn't until our Series A that we recognized that this tool was compelling and should be utilized for an internal drug discovery initiative. I mean, that's quite a change of the direction of the company. And we had investors around us who embraced that emphasis change and that ability to pursue the internal drug discovery program. And I think having those people around the company have been incredibly beneficial.
Now, sometimes people start companies, professors who are like you, have your kind of background, they start companies somewhat close to where they live. Your company is based where?
We're based in La Jolla, in San Diego area.
Okay, but Caltech is in Pasadena. So did you move, or did you commute, or why did you pick La Jolla?
Yeah, well, in biotech, talent is incredibly important, and having a adequate talent pool to build a drug discovery team that's world class was a major factor. And we did the analysis of doing that in the Pasadena or LA area, and we compared that to San Diego. We also considered the Bay Area or Boston, and San Diego was just a fantastic mix of that existing talent and the other appealing features of building a company. So I moved. This goes back to what my wife thought, but yeah, the kids changed schools, we moved houses, we live in La Jolla.
So how many employees do you currently have in the company?
Yeah, right around 60.
And are these typically PhDs or postdocs or people that have had science degrees from places like Caltech or University of California?
It is well, on the one hand, yes, it's largely a scientific composition. The vast majority of the team is technical and spans both the AI and the software side as well as the drug discovery side. And we've been very fortunate to recruit the sort of talent that you're describing. But the thing that I would also emphasize is that we've also been very fortunate to recruit an entire drug discovery team of 30 some odd people that have decades of hardened, seasoned drug discovery experience, really doing it in practice. So combining those people with the AI and the software technology that we also are able to innovate in has been just a fantastic joy.
Now, no doubt, any investor will be impressed with your academic pedigree. Investors may say, as brilliant as you are and as great a scientist as you are, they are more focused probably on the returns on their investment, a phenomenon that I'm sure you're familiar with. So how focused are you on the returns that you're going to achieve for your investors as opposed to making great scientific discoveries that might not yield great returns?
Oh, well, we have to definitely be in category A as opposed to category B. There's a very big difference between running a research group at a university and executing and building a successful startup and a successful company. And we're very crystal clear about the distinction between those categories. And really executing as a company is something that I'm incredibly proud of, and the value creation associated with that. We have, in the space of the last less than 24 months, have taken 2 oncology programs from the absolute starting launch of those programs through to IND submission at a pace of program launch to IND submission in 24 months. So that's value creation. That's important to the investors, and that's the important demonstration of why the science matters.
So let's suppose I'm not really an investor. I really just care about living a long, healthy life. How is your company going to help me live a long and happy life if it's successful? What are you going to develop that I'm going to live a happy and long life with?
Well, I mean, of course, I hope that as we're an oncology-focused company, I hope that you never have to take any of our medicines, and I hope that you're among the fortunate that can avoid that. The reality is that there are many diseases for which better medicines are just urgently needed, and there are important opportunities to add years and years of good quality life to people that come to develop these particular diseases. And Entos has developed a platform and has demonstrated that platform can not only deliver drugs to with excellent promise to achieve that goal, but to do it repeatedly and to do it across different target areas, across different disease areas. And that's really what we're committed to doing.
How do you find the life of being a CEO compared to being a tenured professor at Caltech? Do you enjoy it every day, or is some days you say, geez, I wish I was a professor at Caltech still?
I really do love it. I really do love it. And the analogy, it's very similar to being a professor, just not a tenured professor. It's very similar to being an untenured professor, where you have a vision, where you have a limited runway, where you have to execute, and you feel that urgency in everything that you're doing. And I love that as an academic, and I love it as an entrepreneur.
So what you have developed so far, what stage in terms of trials are you? Are you still in the animal phase? Are you in the human testing phase yet?
So our lead program is executing that exact transition. So we will have, all of our programs have animal data, but our first 2 programs will be going into human clinical trials in the upcoming year. The first of those has IND submission in Q4 of 2023. So we'll have first in human shortly thereafter.
So sometimes people develop companies like yours and then they sell out to larger companies. I not sell out, but sell to them. And sometimes companies like yours want to go public directly. Do you have a preference on what you would prefer? Would you prefer to have Merck come along and buy something from you or buy you, or would you prefer to go public someday?
I think there's many ways to succeed in terms of creating value for your investors and making sure that the medicines and the technology that you've built have their maximal impact. We don't think about the prioritization of one of those endpoints versus another. We see a lot of different ways to stay flexible and a lot of different ways to create value and to be successful in that.
So how difficult is it to get people to work together in the world in which you live? Do you get scientists fighting with each other, or they cooperate? What kind of culture do you have at Iambic that makes it possible for people to work together collaboratively?
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. Mercifully, no, we don't have people fighting with each other, but we do have, you know, working together across very different functional groups is something that requires constant diligence, constant effort, constant thinking about how to do that in the best possible way. It involves recruiting the right people who believe in that kind of mission. It involves giving them the tools to lower the barriers between those different distinct functionalities, and how to think of ourselves as a team that is trying to do more than the sum of our individual capabilities. So we work a lot on that, and that's a very important thing.
Sometimes it's difficult for computer scientists who know a lot about artificial intelligence to work with people who are biotech people or chemists and so forth. Has that been a problem for you?
It's been an inevitable, differences of vocabularies, differences of experiences, difference of timelines, difference of expectations, and that is something that we navigate. I wouldn't say it's been something that's been a problem, but we have had to put very purposeful infrastructure in place so that those teams are working in sync, that they understand why the other half is doing what it is, or the other members of the team are doing what they are, and to understand the context of their own work so they can make better choices and better decisions to benefit the enterprise as a whole.
So do the Ascenta investment professionals understand the science that you're talking about as well as you do? Or do you have to educate them a little bit about it because you're a former tenured professor at Caltech and you know a lot about this, or do they know the science pretty well also?
Our work with Ascenta has been like just an expansion of the team. It's been a wonderful process where they bring knowledge, they bring expertise that in some cases overlaps with our own expertise and knowledge, in which some cases does not overlap. And therefore they know things that we don't know. And we have things to contribute as well. So they've helped us by adding a great deal of value and very timely value as we take our programs from preclinical to clinical development. And I think that's been a process where all sides get to learn.
Thank you very much for explaining Iambic. And by the way, what does the name Iambic mean for those who aren't experts in Greek?
Yeah, so well, and as I'm sure you know, and iamb is a linguistic construct, and it's probably most widely known in the context of Shakespeare's iambic pentameter, the cadence of da 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 da. And we chose that name. It's Iambic Therapeutics, and we wanted the therapeutics in there, of course, because of the reflection that we're a clinical stage biopharma company. But we also wanted to be very true to our machine learning technology platform, to our AI approach to executing on that science. So there's a strikingly fundamental connection between linguistic construction and AI technologies that in fact directly translates to the way we do science. So we thought that was a beautiful connection to try to capture in the name through Iambic.
So when you do what you're doing now, do you kind of give up in your professional life winning a Nobel Prize yourself, or can you still do that when you're running a technology company, or you can do both?
I just think that life is long and it is full of different chapters, and nobody who actually wins a Nobel Prize tries to go through life organizing their trajectory so they're going to win a Nobel Prize. I mean, Frances is a wonderful example of somebody who's lived an extraordinarily varied history, and she follows what is exciting, she follows what's interesting, she follows what matters and what is important, and that's the way you should live your life. You can't try to back calculate some sort of final award.
And with respect to Ascenta, final question: have you worked with other biotech firms or funds over the years, and how is Ascenta different or similar to others with whom you may have worked?
I think that's a fantastic question. The very construction of our company has been reflected in the diversity of the sort of investors we have. We have investors like Nexus and Co2 that are predominantly on the tech side. We have investors like Orbimed and Catalio that are primarily on the biotech or on the life sciences side, and we have had those different different sorts of expertise around the company in terms of the investment pool. I think that Ascenta really brings something that is unique and it's incredibly valuable. As you well know, Lawrence and Evan were part of that, strong foundational early team at Moderna. They know what it's like to have a very promising platform technology and to find the right ways to maximize the impact of that platform for maximal therapeutic good. And that is a experience and a perspective that Iambic as a company greatly benefits from, and is a big part of what they are bringing to this company through joining us in the Series B.
So I have no doubt that Iambic will be to biotech what Iamic pentameter was to Shakespeare. So if you can do as well as Shakespeare using Iamic pentameter, I hope it will be very successful when you use the word Iambic in your title and your company name. So, okay, well, thank you very much. I think I've asked everything I wanted to know, and now I am convinced that you're going to make a lot of money for your investors and hopefully someday for Caltech, right?
Yes, it's an exciting journey. Thank you so much for your time, David, and thank you for the chance for this conversation. I really enjoyed it.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. Good luck to you.